Everyone, and welcome to today's analysis video. I'm Toby, and we have got the 5th week, second to last week of PEL on our hands. It is it's coming down to an end. It's coming down to an end pretty quickly, to be honest. This phase has gone by extremely fast in my thoughts, at least. This is match number 60 overall. Just goes to show, I mean, it's insane how much PUBG has been playing. So 36 games still left to be played. The last week, week 6, is going to be a little different. I think they start one day earlier. They start on the they will start on Thursday rather than on Friday. But we'll get into that next week, and I'm sure they'll be posting all the info they need to as well. But let's jump in with both feet and get that game number 1 started. So without further ado, boink, let's see the playing path. It's going to be Alcantara or El Pozo over Monte. For the most part, pretty straight plane. Navi will go up to La Cobraria. 7, though, going south rather than taking that split they've done before. So it kind of seems to me like 7 has somewhat committed to the southern path. So unless if it's really far northern plane, they'll go up here. But this seems to be their priority, where early on in the phase, it seemed like they would rather go here if it was a plane that allowed for both. They would rather go north than go down here. But now it seems like they've kind of committed to going down towards Las Leones instead. Desperados will be able to go Impala, so Gamer Legion have all the room in the world. Racier Edge, though, normally going up on the northern side. Not Impala, but further north. They are going down towards Valid. They didn't want to have to traverse all the way through. Makes sense. Didn't want to have to run through all these teams. So they've gone south, and we see a somewhat southern center-ish circle. Now, right off the bat, of course, Las Leones takes up a lot of space, and these craters do too. So the center that you would normally play, a lot of that is not going to be played because it's Las Leones, right? We should probably draw this up differently. Center that you would normally play, this you would not play because it's Las Leones, which means that even if you zoom in, there's a lot of this you can't really play either. You have this whole field, can't really do anything from there. You have this entire field over here, cannot really do anything. You can play on the hilltop. I'm just trying to draw it up. It's like a really sketch drawing out for all of you guys, so you know what I'm talking about. And we have the open hills over here. So if we look at the center of this circle and zoom out a bit, there's a lot of terrain that you don't want to be in, which means that from the very start of the game, what normally is a very piled up bunch of teams in the center, this time it's going to be a lot more split. There's going to be a lot more teams maneuvering around on the edges of the circle rather than everyone just trying to get into the middle. Let's see. Liquid moving early. Gamer Legion will do the same. They see the circle go towards them and they want to get some good real estate. 7 already splitting 2-2 in the middle. This is actually a pretty good position from them. I like this split. Gamer Legion likes to take the church. That makes perfect sense. I've actually seen Liquid contest this multiple occasions, so they decide to stay on the northern side of the road rather than crossing over. Racier Edge, they're coming in from the south. So a face, they just wrapped underneath Chuma. Road Crowd, they come up from El Pozo. And now the remaining teams are starting to make their way down in this direction too. You can see everyone's still rotating on vehicles, and most importantly, pretty much everyone that has made their way inside the circle are all playing on the western side. I guess to you that would be on the western side of Las Leones. If we draw a line down through Las, very few teams. I mean, we have Squeak and Mikas, they're making their way in as we speak. And then you have G2, they're probably wrap all the way underneath or go over depending on the next circle. Like they're gonna try and hit here by the time the circle goes as well. So wherever it goes, they can move immediately, right? But most teams are playing the west side of Las Leones because, again, they don't want to have to go around it once the circle pops. Because it takes a while. Let's see how that impacts things. New circle pops, and we go south. Okay, so we still know that there's a lot of moving space over on this side, whereas to this side, not so much. And we've actually, in week 2, I believe it was, I casted games, I think it was 2 games in a row actually, on Miramar that looked a lot like this circle. The players were in different positions, but the circle looked a lot like this. Am I IGL? No, I don't play on a team. where NIP was up here in the circles, actually ended up going back up towards him. But if you guys remember that game, then that was that one. This time around, things are a little different. NIP are playing this one from the northern side. And they'll be slowly making their way through Los Leones, which still take up quite a big piece, I guess you could say, of Los Leones. Circle, ooh, that's interesting. Shift southeast. And now, we talked about Los Leones before. Navi and Ens might want to rotate through there. But if you don't, we can even take it further. We can take it over here. Look at how many teams are going to be forced to go in from here to here. Cannot really make it through here either. So we'll draw up this as well. And this down here is really hard to drive up, but we'll let them do that anyway. Watch this. So these are the entry points, right, to the circle for the teams on the western side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, depending on what ends do. 7 with N47 sitting right on the edge there. So we got 6 or 7 teams that all have to traverse, through the circle this direction. And you can see how little space there is. I think you would be much better off, and I think that's exactly what Knights might be doing. Just to go all the way underneath and come in from here. I think, honestly, that would be the smartest play in this circle. For a team like FaZe, Knights, all these guys, just wrap underneath. Get the hell out of what will be a cluster up here. Because this whole field is really open too, and it's just suicide to drive through. So get underneath, rotate south, and make a play in that direction. We'll see Ratio Edge, they get over. Knights, they go to the hills to scout further around. FaZe come over the top. Ends wrap around, Navi wraps around. That's what we expected to see. Pro Crowd, only 2 players alive. They do wrap underneath, and FaZe go over the top. Okay, so it's not exactly outlined or happened as we thought it would, but as I said, Knights wanting to go over this way. If this circle continues to go in that direction, look at the pile they find themselves in now, as opposed to before. Had they been down here, they would have all the room in the universe. New circle pops. Goes south. They're still in, but now they're taking fire, and they have a billion teams on the northern side that will, well, most likely at least, have to push through here, because I would not expect to see anybody do this. Remember, this is a big mountain, so you kind of have to rotate all the way around if you want to make your way in, and that's gonna take too long. I would not, maybe Navi can do it, like grab underneath like this, but I would not expect to see anyone else go do that. So there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 15 teams are going to be playing in the top third of the circle. Because they all have to cross the road too, right? 7 crashing over, G2 crashing over, Reciprocity wanting to make their way over. Again, had you been on the southern side in the circle, you would have had a whole lot of room to work with. Now let's see, Navi trying to hold their edge. It's not exactly the best place to play from. They know they have to cross that road eventually. And that's why they sent Best of Luck over early to get at least some sort of ground for his teammates to cross later. Circle goes east once more. G2, Reciprocity, and 7 sitting in a kind of Trinity compound situation. And again, all these teams that are still on the northern side of this road, they are going to have a hard time crossing. We still have 5 teams up here. Ratio Edge are holding on one side, and Reciprocity sitting up here. They're pretty much just playing gatekeep on all these guys that are going to be trying to make their way in this direction from the northern side. You cannot push around this side anymore. It's going to be practically impossible. Ratio Edge is even running up to take control because they don't want to be contained in the compound, so they need to go up and force a fight up there, which they do successfully. They keep 4 guys alive. N47 hold off 1 player from TSM. They still have to cross themselves, though you can see Drayden from Knights made the cross on over, but he's the last player alive from that bunch. And then down south, NIP played in from there. There's plenty of room. Not the best situation to be in, or the best area to be in, but there's still 3 guys alive with a chance to make some plays from where they are. Ratio Edge in from the west side. Good hold on theirs. I mean, they know there's nothing to come for them. There's no reason for them to try and crash into the compound. So clear on your northern side and clear on your southern side. Like, constantly be dynamic and wrapping around on the edge of the circle and keep them at bay, which is what they're trying to do, but obviously it's not really working out the way they want to. Only 2 guys alive now. I think it's 60 and Linksy. Those two still up on their feet. Circle sent us up. And this is this is tough. I mean, NIP, they will need to push up the hill towards this. There's like a ridge line that you can play from underneath. And everything in the compound is just, I mean, urban warfare. Just on top of, piled on top of each other, trying to make their way on inside. NIP running forward, getting a flush onto Tixu. Macken gets the other one. He has to cross the dirt road though, so that's going to be tricky. I think Reciprocity might be able to see him. Nope, NIP gets the angles. That's going to be them down. Final circle is going to pop. And, well, now we go dead center with, what, 12 players alive. Na'Vi, somehow still 4 guys up. They've been playing it slow on the eastern side. Just slowly maneuver in, maneuver in, maneuver in. Nice breach on towards. You can see them crashing in towards G2 there. Wiping that entire team. Push further forward. And now it's a 4-man Na'Vi against a 4-man Reciprocity against a 3-man NIP, and then you have 6 more crash proning in the middle. So he's just chilling. The circle is going to end just outside. NIP has a good terrain to work with on the southern side, and if they're fortunate enough, which they are, they can force these two teams into a fight. I think that's exactly what NIP wants to do here. Don't over-aggress. It's actually, for those of you guys, if any of you guys watched PKL earlier today, Gen G was in a very similar situation where they could have gone aggressive and try and actively third-party an engagement. But instead of doing that, they say, you know what? Let them fight. Let them take their engagement with one another. We'll take the position, and whatever comes off of that in the end is going to be our kill. So these guys start fighting. NIP goes up to take the center position. Now they can wait. Reciprocity comes in. 1 down. Shiv is tagged. Monkey is tagged. Goes down, 3v1, Shiv by himself. There's obviously smokes and everything all over the place, but Shiv goes down in the end nonetheless. Great play by NIP coming in from the south, and most importantly, we can scroll way back. And I guess you can say, give a lot of what their success was in this game to this rotation. Coming in underneath. Never over-aggressing, keeping 3 guys alive. They lost Gaxi, I think. Yeah, Gaxi early. But playing it smart on the edge. They don't. It's not even because they get the circle shifted to them. Just play it slow. Play your edge. You know you're on the quiet side, so you're not really in a hurry to go out and kill everything. But play it smart on your side of the circle, and they win the game off of it. Very great play. And very good patience by NIP to get themselves that win. That's game number 1. We'll go over to game number 2. Let's see. And again, if you guys along any of this have questions and whatnot, do feel free to ask whatever it may be. Could be anything. If any questions along the analysis, do feel free to ask. Circle, playing in from the south. Pretty straightforward playing. I mean, we got 7 down here again, Ratio Edge. I think Ratio Edge has gotten quite, what do you say, not happy with, but found themselves satisfied, I guess you can say, with Val del Mar. I mean, they would normally go northeast, but neither Miramar planes in the day has really been working for them. Do you have any insight into why Liquid are having issues? We've talked about that a bit before as well, Luff, but I think one thing that I can see is that they are losing players early. I mean, one thing is that when you get to Circle 4, Circle 5, and it all becomes a cluster, they lose players early, not for no reason, but in, I wouldn't really call it over-aggressing either. It's, they're running into teams which it seems like they aren't really sure what to do. They've had some engagements with 7. They've run into Game of Legion a couple of times. On Erangel, there, like, I think 7 has been messing up a lot of their initial rotation ideas when they loot, like, just west of Pochinki. They've just been caught in really unfortunate situations. We can try and take a look. We can not focus only on Liquid, obviously, but we can try and take a look in this game and see what happens with Liquid, and see if we can pinpoint anything that's out of the norm. Because right now, I mean, everything is pretty standard as far as who jumps where. No big surprises anywhere in that regard. Of course, with both Ratio Edge ends and 7 down here, there's going to be quite a bit more pressure on the southern side of the circle than what we're used to. Whereas on the northern side, you pretty much only have Navi and G2. So that's gonna be a little more quiet. Teams rotating over to the middle. Ibiza is gonna follow through. They're gonna be in a two-way split, I would assume. Maybe 3-1. No, so they're just taking high ground position. Get vision, scout forward. JMT can look south. EB can look over to the west. Teams can hold the compound alongside Samty. And they now know that they have people inside the compound south. So hold them while scouting further forward for the next circle. Pretty straightforward rotation for like that most teams would do in this situation. Circles come closing on in. DA pushing up from the eastern side now. That's another team that Liquid has been running into a lot of times. And it's not that they necessarily get wiped by them. It's just that you lose that one player, and that can throw off the dynamic for what your plan was to do in a certain game. Like just being 3 guys alive, there's a lot of things that you can only really play comfortably when you're 4. So losing one guy in some tough situations can be kind of like it can ruin games for you to a certain extent. New circle pops, and we go east. Now let's see. This right here is an annoying mountain to go through, so I would assume if not all, then we got 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really count, they're already there. So 3 teams down here that have to go somewhere east. I would assume that FaZe has scouted this compound. They will just send it in there and then maybe move further on the northern side. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ratio Edge go either through or over El Pozo, because there's much more to play. This road going through is like a splitting point between 2 very different sides of the circle. This is one huge uphill to where Power Grid is, and over on the other side in San Martin, you have a situation where it's, well, obviously that's a city, flatlands, hills. So it's 2 very, very different outcomes, and you kind of have to put yourself in a situation where you can prep yourself for both. And I think you would much rather be up here and have to go south than be down here and have to find something up here, because there's really not a lot to play from up on that northern side. So I would assume to see some of these teams make their way up in the north rather than try and follow everyone else down towards the south. Let's see. Yep, exactly. Over the northern side, over the northern side. NIP go middle, FaZe go exactly where we said they would. You see, if I can do this, not having seen the games, and this is not something, whoa, nobody would have ever figured this out, that's not what I'm saying. But if I can do these things without having watched the game, I just called 4 things, and yes, I didn't know they were going to happen, but off of what I've seen the teams do before, and off of what I think would make sense, then they do that. And if you're a player, if you're a guy that's playing on a team, watching maybe these videos or these on Twitch, because you want to improve as a player, maybe you want to understand more when you watch tournaments, maybe you want to play tournaments, I don't know, but whatever reason you're watching this analysis for, you can do these things yourself. When you watch a game, when you watch the map stream during a tournament, sit and look at where TSM are and go like, oh, where do I think they would go next circle? Over time, try to build up that way of thinking rather than just see what they do and go, oh, that was smart or that was dumb. Figure out what their alternatives were, and then you start realizing why they do what they do. I hope that makes sense. 7, they realized Navi were pushing underneath, so they had to wrap further around. Ratio Edge coming in from the north as well, as we said. That would make sense. 7, they're now sending at full speed into San Martin. They probably have, what do you call it? They probably have bad memories of a San Martin circle that we've seen before. Doesn't happen though. We're going down to Power Grid. Power Grid is currently taking... This is actually interesting because we had in the Chinese league on day 1 a game that ended, I think, something like right here. And through the entire game, and this is where China is very different to European PUBG. Through the entire game, one team had all of Power Grid. That would never happen in the European league. Like you're not allowed to have this and this in circle 6 if the circle is on you. Everybody was playing outside. Nobody crashed in. That was very surprising to me. So fun to see that already now we have 3 teams playing, where in China there was only 1. That is actually pretty interesting to see. Now let's see. Circle is gonna close on up. New circle is going to pop. And we are going out west. FaZe gets a gift again. They are really, really fortunate with these circle 4 shifts sometimes. Oh, yeah, I'll fix that immediately. That could be why people are not watching. Thank you so much for saying that. How do I do this? View. That makes more sense. There we go. now it should be correct if you restart the game. In any case, let's see. Everyone has to cross, and that's the issue, right? This road is a hellhole to cross. When you try, odds are you'll die. Because if you're taking cover from the guys above, odds are you're visible to the guys below, and you're just gonna get caught in a death sandwich position where you can't really do a whole lot. Yes, very big love. And I don't know if I get to do any of the PGC, but if I do, I will put a lot of emphasis on it. And even if I don't, I hope that the people that are working the event will put a lot of focus on the different playstyles, because they are very different. Now let's see. We can cut the circle pretty much in half on this angle. There are 2 teams up here and 12 teams down here. What does that make you think? This is gonna be chaos. These guys are gonna be chilling, most likely at least. But also, if you look at where these teams are positioned, TSM trying to get in here, there's gonna be practically nothing to play. They'll need to wrap up at some point, unless if the circle goes north, of course. N47 and ENCE, well, they need to go north at some point. You can see how Liquid are playing. Right now, Liquid isn't really focused on moving forward. They're focused on saying, there's no point in figuring out that this is clear if by the time we start rotating, a team right here shoots us and kills us. So we need to make sure that all of this is clear. Gemty holds all of this. Samty is probably there to help the guys down south once they hear the fight go off down here. Liquid needs to make sure that all of this is clear before they can even consider moving further forward. And I think that's why I see them stay. You can see immediately they start shooting Reciprocity, crashing straight into Liquid. That's a YOLO play. It doesn't work out for them. And now Liquid are getting pinned. And I think that was the only thing they wished not to have happened. Reciprocity kind of forced that. So while Liquid is busy fighting Reciprocity, N47 goes great. Now we can third party and go up here. And ENCE go great. Now we can third party and go up here. And all of a sudden, Liquid is the team that is caught in the middle, which becomes an extremely tricky situation. All of a sudden, it's just Samty left alive. You see what I mean? That's not a situation where Liquid played it bad, but that's a situation where Liquid find themselves in a really, really tough position that is extremely hard to get out of alive. I don't see what they could have done different in this spot, because they were sitting here before Reciprocity came in. Gemty is holding the north, and the other 3 are holding the south. That's what they can do from there. That's the play they can do from there. Then you can go back in time and say, should they have been there to begin with? I don't know. I mean, it's difficult with circles shifting wherever they do. But in this situation, in where they were, they could not have played this any better. It's just because the timing for the rest, because they had Reciprocity. Let's say Reciprocity had never come. They would have gone the other way, or they would have died, or whatever. They had never been there. Liquid would have been able to 3-man hold off ENCE, and while both these teams drove up, they both drove up, and Liquid would have been able to see that. But look at this, they all drive around the side, they never got a chance to shoot at them, and then they come crashing on the other side too. It's just perfect timing from both ENCE and N47 to execute that, and it's crucial Liquid. So it's not, I mean, to go back to what your question was earlier, Loaf, it's not because I think Liquid is failing at playing to the level that they do. It's because other teams, first of all, are starting to play better, and second of all, other teams do more to counter what they do. In the beginning, it was Liquid, for the most part, setting the pace of what they wanted to do. So if they wanted to play aggressive, then they go aggressive. If they wanted to stay away from a fight, then they stay away from a fight. And teams kind of let them do what they wanted to. And now it's more where teams, so if Liquid says, we don't want to fight you guys, then the other guys will be like, you might not want to, but we're going to force you to. Or if Liquid really wants to engage something, then the other guys are saying, well, it's not going to happen, we're gone. Those type of things. So I think it's a lot more what other teams do against Liquid, rather than Liquid just everyone saying, oh, Liquid is not doing so well right now. It's a combination of other teams also starting to do really good, I think, at least. Or better. For Liquid, they do go down, to talk enough about them. FaZe still up and kicking on the western side. Desperados from the south have a chance to make a good play from here. They have decent vision from above. They can look all the way down towards FaZe. Now they send 2 guys in the mid-center to get a little bigger of a chunk of the circle, and also this can help them potentially hold off Power Grid should the circle shift away from there. It does. This is perfect. I mean, FaZe, they're kind of unpredictable in these situations, but I wouldn't assume them to actually push Desperados unless if something really bad escalates here. Desperados' main focus right now should be holding off NIP and whatever team comes out alive from Power Grid. While still, since they're 4 guys alive, keep some sort of focus on making sure these guys don't do anything aggressive towards them. Because I don't think they know that it's FaZe that is here at this point. I don't think they have actually... Does FaZe have any kills yet? No, they don't have any kills. So yeah, I don't think they know for a fact that it's FaZe that is over there. They hold the side. Picture perfect. Exactly what they had to do. Keep 4 guys alive. This is exactly how you want to play this situation. Great play by Desperados. Crow Crowd still 4 guys up. So it's a 4v4v4. Pretty rare actually to see in this circle. And FaZe get a hard shift. Not a hard shift, but FaZe get the circle again. FaZe, they are magnets when it comes to circles in PUBG. It's pretty impressive. Simsi goes up to die in blue. 4v3 now in the favor of FaZe. Uber down. And this terrain is a little tricky to work around. 8C down. Now it's a 3v2. Boss FaZe is practically in blue. Has to get back in. And Mexi trying to hold off the edge. Tixu does go down. 2v2 now. This is interesting. Boss FaZe goes down. And Crow Crowd wins the game. So... Now, again, I didn't watch this game. So... I'm not sure exactly how it all unfolded. But the fact that they get 2 knocks so early, that's impressive. Because you would think, having just eliminated the team up here and seen Simsi die to blue. And look at the way they're split right now. This is open, I think. Kind of. So it's very limited where your opponents can be, right? If you just killed everything that was here, then you know that your opponents are going to be somewhere here. And the fact that they're allowed to get 2 knocks, Mesa and Timmy, on AT and Uber, that's unfortunate. I don't think they knew that Tixu was that far down. You can see Mexi was down there to help, but he runs back up. So I don't think Uber knows that he's visible to a guy down by the street. But impressive play by Crow Crowd to win the game. Let's see. Game number 3 of the day. We are headed over to Sanhok. Let me see what you guys saying. Liquid are lacking the aggressive plays from previous phases, and their 2-2 splits are not working, and they are also losing 1v1 clutch situation. It's sad. Liquid are being too greedy with their splits. They have good intentions, but teams are getting aggressive. Yeah, I mean, teams are just doing more to contest. It's you can compare it with how. I mean, some of you guys might not have been watching that, but in phase 1 of Contenders, Reciprocity, they got, I think, 70 points in the first week. Very, very, very impressive. Everything, like, they were just winning everything. I think they had like 3 wins and 2 second places on day 1 or something crazy absurd like that. Like, all their games was within top 5. And I kept saying, guys, how the fuck do you do it? I mean, that's very impressive, even for you guys. And Skoom was just, Toby, we are not doing anything different. It's just everyone else is playing so scared. And I think that's kind of how it goes in the beginning of most phases. How, even in the first maybe 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, everyone is trying to find their footing. They're trying to understand what their opponents do. And therefore, they tend to be a little more passive. Whereas to now, in the end of the phase, everyone is desperate for points. Everyone is trying to go out and find just something. So if you see a 2-man split where earlier it would be like, should we play this position? How do we want to do this? Now it's more of a, we need those 2 points. And if we're going to have a 4v2 opportunity against them, let's go. I think that's more the case. So there are those teams that get a lot of points early. That get a lot of points early on in the phase. Where everyone's like, oh my god, they're the best team ever. But then there are some of those teams that play, like, they will play really good once they understand what they're up against. Some teams, I normally say it when I'm casting, if there's a really chaotic game where a team does something really impressive, I say that some teams thrive in chaos. Like, whenever it's super chaotic and crazy, Media Bridge Square from the Korean League, for example, they are really, really good at those 6 teams on top of each other situations where it's chaos and casters go wild and all that stuff. Some teams excel in that, where there's really no rules. It's just everyone does what they want. And then some teams, they're like more chess players, you know? Like they're more of the, oh, that circle there. Oh, we know that they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And then they start doing good. So some teams will do really well early on in the phase where things aren't really set in stone. And then some teams do extremely well once they find their comfort zone, which I think FaZe is one of those teams. FaZe can do well in both, but FaZe normally does really well when things have, like when they know what to expect from the opponents, they tend to do well. Same thing with Liquid. But right now, they're in a situation where they're trying out some new things, maybe being, as you said, a little more aggressive with their splits, and therefore they don't know what to expect from the opponents, and that kind of screws them over. So when they think, oh well, the last two weeks we have done this and it's worked out every time, then now we see that same team come back to the exact same position, but they go, oh wait, last time we did this against Liquid, they wrecked us. So now we need to do this instead. And then they try something new and they win because of it. But that was a long answer to what technically was a short question. I hope it made sense. Now let's see. Phase 3, week 5, day 1, game 3, Sanhok, boom. What's more lovable? Desperados, they're back at it. They've been a little all over the place. They normally go Camp Bravo, and this is actually funny because this plane allows them to go Camp Bravo, but they don't want to. They don't want to go Camp Bravo. They want to go down there. 7 has been down there. Desperados have been down there. Knights, they're just like, can we please just loot Sami by ourselves? But nope, not the case. And maybe they should have been Camp Bravo because that's where the circle went. You know what's funny? The first time Desperados went Camp Bravo, the circle was like this. And now that they go back here, the circle goes up north. That is very, very unfortunate for them. And hello, Balthazar. It's very, very unfortunate for Desperados that they have like the opposite of circle magnets. And G2 and DA, they're still fighting. I still don't know what it is they're doing, but they're both very, very interested in fighting for this, which, yes, the circles do go there sometimes, but I feel like they commit a whole lot of effort into taking fights in that area, and they always end up losing players, both of them. Kind of unnecessary, but they do that, so that's that. Circle went north, I would assume, for 70. I was just going to say I might not want to cross the bridge because you never know what's on the other side. So crossover with boats. Yep, Krabik is already there. N's going to wrap underneath. No reason to take any early fights. Liquid running into all of DA and a couple of the N47 players. Everybody wants to get Sender early on. That's just how it is. Now FaZe are coming up from behind. They want to get part of the compounds as well, I would assume. It's like the early fights for a compound. You want to fight early so you can sit still and do nothing for 6 circles. I think that's what most teams are hoping to do. And of course, with the next shift, we'll most likely know where the third one will go as well. So teams will try and move 1 circle ahead. This one, though, we don't have a whole lot of water. Only a little bit down here, which means that, because these small lakes, they don't really count as water. Only a little bit of water down here, which means that they can pretty much go anywhere. That's nice. We rarely ever see that. There's normally a lot of water in the second circle, which means that, oh, well, we know exactly where it's going. This time around, no. Not quite the case. I have heard from some PEL players that there are those type of mountains like we've seen with the hot maps on Miramar, where you can tell where it's going, but I don't know where those are. They won't tell me, so that's interesting. TSM pushing up towards where Ents are playing from. They're gonna take a fight. Knights coming in late from the southern side of the circle. They had to wrap all the way underneath. Reciprocity. They succeeded in doing that. Now Game of Legion running across by Quarry. That's always dangerous. And the circle goes north. Look at the concentration of teams. We have a half with 2 teams in it. Make that 1 team. Actually, make that a 3-man team and a duo. So we got 5 players in all of this. And then we have 45 players in all of this. Could you imagine where there's going to be most chaos? On the northern side of the circle or the southern side of the circle? My bet, just a bet, is that there's going to be a lot more fighting going on down here than there is up here. Just a thought. And this is where those teams that can understand circle shifts, knowing where teams drop, and the tendencies, if they can find the calm side of the circle, they tend to be much more in control than the teams that find themselves like Na'Vi right now in between 3 different teams. You kind of just have to follow the flow, because if you stop, Reciprocity will run into you. That's going to be them running in. That's going to be them running in. You can't. It's like driving on a highway, you know? If you're driving on a quiet road, you can drive fast. You can drive slow. Doesn't matter because you're the only one there. But if you're on a highway, there is a speed limit. If you go too slow, the cars behind you will go, If you drive too fast, you'll hit the car in front of you. So 2 very different styles of play depending on where you are. Down here, and that's what we talked about with Liquid earlier, they like to be that team that can set the pace. They don't necessarily want to be in an area where there's no opponents, but they want to be in an area where they decide the speed limit, where if you're down here like they are right now, you don't decide anything. If you don't start moving, all these teams will run straight into you and you'll die. Knights wrapping around. It's a northern shift. They want to get up on that side. They don't want to fight early. Give us the quiet side. That's what they say. On the other hand, got NIP exactly the same way that this is exactly the same way that they won that Miramar game earlier. Get on the quiet side. Chill. Decide the speed of which you want to play this match. On the south, though, Reciprocity and Game of Legion, quite the opposite. Forced into taking aggressive fights. Iroh goes down. That's going to be no placement points for TSM. 7? Now they get themselves into a decent compound. Reciprocity eliminated as well. And there's just, I mean, this area is just hard. You have a compound, and then you have like these roads that are horrible to have to cross. Not a very easy area to play late game. You know you're gonna get piled on top of each other. You know it's a difficult area to fight in, and it's just, if you're sitting on the inside waiting, you're in all kinds of amazing positions. Mexi by himself in the blue in circle 6 now, or phase 6. That's gonna be him getting chunked down pretty quickly. Senya is there as well. They both end up getting killed. Now we're within placements. And this is where Knights, I mean, because Knights and Ents technically wrapped around on the eastern side, they are now 4 guys alive. They might not really have any kills. I don't know, Knights, what do you have? They have 1 kill. 25 people alive and only 1 kill. And you can go, oh, but there's other teams that have 1 billion kills. Let's see. 5 kills for Game of Legion, but they're eliminated. 3 kills for DA. 3 kills for FaZe, but Mexi gets eliminated now. So they get 4 kills, 4 points for N47 because they've been on the southern side too. But in the terms of Knights, they might not have any kills yet, but they have 4 guys alive. Late game, they haven't really been fighting, so they don't have any knocks at high timers. They most likely have their vests and their helmets and a billion grenades. They're setting themselves up for a good late game position. And as you see, that's 3 points right there. Why aggress like a madman early with the risk of going out early if you can get points late game instead? They played this circle extremely smart, Knights. N47, they're splitting on each side of the compound. Don't want to over-aggress down towards it. Now they have to wrap around somehow. And this is where it becomes a race, because if you let 7 wrap underneath and contain you, then you're in a really bad position. But if you can get around 7 and hold them, then you're all of a sudden in a really good spot. Only thing is you have to take into account that there are teams on the other sides too. And they are currently being contained pretty well, but they do manage to make their way in. 7, as I've talked about before, very scared to do anything. Play passive on the backside, and they go down because of it. But then again, there isn't really much of a center to take. And now Knights and N47 in a fight. N47 gets 1. This should be an N47 win. Drayden still has a cross. Reels is on the other side. If he can knock down Vasco, that could be a win for them. Nope, that's not gonna happen. N47 don't lose these. I will just get knocked by the circle. What a noob. But nonetheless, good game both for Knights and for N47. Knights, they end up getting 7 kills and a second place. 13-point game. They had 1 kill when there was 25 people alive. That's not a bad game for them. Even better for N47 because they had kills in the bottom as well before the last couple of circles. So they end up getting what, 6, 12 kills. And so that's a 22-point game for them. Very good performance overall for both those teams. They played it very differently because N47 were on the back foot, but they were always the team on the inside. You can see the way that N47 push up to these northern circles. They were always the team that was on the inside of those circles, holding out. Once they realize TSM is gone, and this circle pops, watch how they play it now. They don't just stay down here and take fights on all the sides. They push up. Now they can hold here. Like, they don't care about what's in here. They just want to hold here. New circle pops. Do we want to stay right here or do we want to push further up? Good, we stay because we can't really go anywhere. And we've seen 7 take this. But we still stay and we make sure that we hold this. See, never just be sitting in the compound doing nothing. Get info, get control. Don't let anyone wrap around you. Move in with the circle, contain. Now they play the backside. It's constantly moving with the circle, instead of doing what 7 does here. The issue with where 7 is playing from right now is that, as you can see, they're all sitting in the compound. So they have very little info to go off of. Yes, they have the circle, but by now, when the circle pops, the new circle pops that is, they don't know what's happening. Yes, they can hear the shots and they can see the kill feed, but they don't have eyes. They cannot say, oh, he's behind that tree or he's playing that rock right there. Whereas to N47, because they've been as proactive as they have all the info, so they get wiped immediately. Good game by, as I said, both Knights and N47. And that was an interesting one. Interesting Sanhok game. It's rare that we get to do a lot of analysis on Sanhok games, but it's only because I said early, if you want to dictate your own speed, I guess you can say, of this match, you have to wrap around on the eastern side. And that's exactly what Knights did. Game number 4, first Erangel game of the day. Oops, that was fast. Let's have the plane, shall we? Novo over George. Any surprises? Do you guys see anything different? Do you see any changes at all? I might have marked one already. You see any changes at all? Do you see any changes at all? And I'm not saying 7 has never gone Novo before, because they have. But 7 has not gone Novo in planes that allows them to go to where they normally play. That's interesting. N47, they're out later. They couldn't really jump Prim, or maybe they didn't want to. Yeah, it was Prim jump here, would be contesting vehicles with Navi. Makes sense not to do that. So, N47, they're not going here. That to me is a surprise. Why do they change? No clue. Big thing is though, Liquid has to know this. Especially now we saw it before, but when this circle pops. Normally, previously, Gemty has always been really fast in rotating out and taking these spots. We've even seen in the Chinese league teams jumped. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything. We will see that. But Liquid has to realize, must have realized, I guess I should say, that 7 isn't here. They can get a whole lot of real estate here if they move quickly. Normally they've gone down here. They've taken these before, played like 1 guy holding this and 3 guys in the forest. But when they've gone all the way down and committed to some of these early, they've always been running into 7, which has been an issue, which has forced them to not do that so much anymore. Now that they're not there, you have to send 7 a message if you're Liquid and say, whenever you guys give us this, we will take it instantly. Because that means that you're paying attention to what's going on. It means that you're constantly on the lookout, which is, I guess, technically the exact same thing as I just said, but not falling for any surprises. Because if 7 realize, well, they never know if we're there or not, that's when they can start taking control. And Liquid don't want to lose that control. You know what I mean? He moves immediately. This is perfect. This is what you have to be able to do. You have to, like, you can never let your, if 7 says, it doesn't matter if we go here or here, Liquid never know where we are anyway. Obviously, they know. Gemty would never have driven down here if it wasn't because they had said 7 are not here. He would never just have full speed blindly pushed into this. Which I don't know if he did, but kind of. He does drive past in case anyone's shooting, but still. That would not have happened if they had seen 7 land here. So very, very smart play by Gemty to go down and take control early. Teams over. Now they can go play around it. Because they know for a fact 7 isn't here to take those compounds. Very, very, very smart reaction play by Liquid. And not something you see too many teams react to either. So glad to see them recognize that immediately. NIP crashing into CC. Okay, that didn't go as they wanted to. They lost 1 player in that, unfortunately. G2 gonna go up and take Pachinki Hill. TSM gonna play the west side. Reciprocity and Ents gonna get into a bit of a, I guess you could say, a stalemate. They wanna, of course, with this setup, maybe hold off some rotations coming in this way, but they would be surprised that there's no one left to make set rotation. Face is still in the south. They have Knights on the top, Game Legion, and a 2-way split on the east side, or south side, I mean. That's that'll be fun. We'll see where the next circle goes. Then we can talk about it. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. It might as well have gone to military. This is a horrible circle. Wow. Tokyo 2020 circle. That's insane. What do I think about the teams that play Edge always? Depends on who they are. If they're good at fighting, if they like being hard shifted away from, then I guess that's fine. Some teams do well at that. Some teams don't. G2. You don't very often see G2 crash into the middle of a circle. For example, Liquid, they have a potential fight on their hands with 7. I mean, we know the circle is going to shift away from water. Not this circle, but the one after that. Prim open, Ferry Pier open. I would be very surprised to see anyone actually go into Primorsk. That would make no sense to me. But then again, I mean, we've seen weird things before. Forest area open. This is where we'll get that big artillery station thingy in the new circle, on the new Erangel. 2 spots available. You can still play the mountaintop. Maybe a team would go down to Ferry Pier, but I feel like that would be isolating yourself, because as we can see, all teams are on the northern half right now, right? Oh my fucking god, look at this. Everybody is on the northern half. Everyone is sitting on the north. Other than Navi, Ratio Edge, and Game Legion, pretty much. They're either outside of the circle on the north or in like the northern 20%. So which teams would commit to going Ferry Pier? N47? No, because they have equally good or better playable areas before they get there. FaZe? That will require them to want to do this. And I don't know if they would want to drive through that, or this, or this. But even then, I don't think that would be the play to make. G2, with the way they're driving right now, it seems like they're gonna go stop over here. Which team could actually make it to Ferry Pier? I don't think anyone could. Yes, maybe Desperados. If Desperados do this, then maybe there's a chance. If they go down here, underneath, onto the beach, up like this, then maybe there's a chance. Then that could be a play to make. Now let's see. Tomla is out there. Game of Legion do it. Ferry Pier over Forest. Huh. I guess you have more control when you play Ferry Pier, but you're also much easier to be contained. But okay, Game of Legion go down here. 7 go Forest. G2 go Forest. FaZe and Knights go Forest. And I think that might have been exactly what... I think that might have been exactly what Game of Legion tried to avoid. To become part of that situation. Desperados. Okay, okay, guys. I know. This is... Okay. Can I just give myself credit for drawing up Desperados rotation? Pretty much exactly how they did it, without having seen how they do go north instead. So it stopped here. But so far it was pretty good along the way. For anyone that is north at this point, Crow Crowd, Reciprocity, TSM. Here's a mountain. Here's a compound. Here's a field. How the fuck do you get into the circle if you're Crow Crowd? Either you do this, which, considering that it's Crow Crowd, could very well happen. TSM, they just have to crash shacks. Reciprocity, either you crash shacks and contest TSM, or you do something like this, which will be suicide. TSM crashes shacks, they end up getting completely slaughtered, but they do manage to get one. Reciprocity, driving on forward, trying to get themselves into a good position. They get up to the forest without getting taken down. I think, fortunately for them, it's not a solo, but I mean, Chris doesn't have his teammates, so he's not going to over-aggress. At the same time, Drayden is a solo, so they're not going to over-aggress either. Now, next circle has to shift away from water. Let's see where we're headed. Crow Crowd took the fight to an IP. And we go back into the field. And I think TSM realized that this was probably the case, so that's why they didn't. I mean, also probably because they couldn't really, but didn't want to commit further than where they were. Liquid, 7 still in the compound. Seems like Liquid wins that one. 3v1. Yep, they do manage to stay put. But I can't see if it's 3 or 4 guys. It seems like James has been killed. Yeah, they're only 3. Reciprocity and G2 will be forced into a fight real soon. And I like that Bjorn has crossed already. That's actually, it's a small thing. But again, when we talk about getting a position on the other side, right? It could have been a river. It could be anything. As long as he has a perimeter of X range where he knows within this area, there will be no opponents. We have this to ourselves. That will always mean that these guys have a landing zone, which will allow for them to cross. So great by Bjorn to cross over early. Just fast forward a bit again. Next circle can go anywhere, and it keeps going into the field. Now, the issue with the field is that as long as the mountain is in and the forest is in, you cannot play anything out here that is not a shack. Let's draw it up differently. As long as this or this is in, you could argue the compound too, but this gives you so much more high ground. You cannot play anything in... Let me draw it up differently. This, only that, and that. And I think one of them is a wooden shack. I think that one is a wooden shack, isn't it? Is it that one? I'm pretty sure it's that one. Doesn't really matter. In any case, there are 4 shacks available. Technically, there's only 1. And since I think that's a wooden shack, that's probably why there's no one there. You cannot play any of that as long as these 2 are in. Everything within this, except for where the green circles are, there's nothing to play. There's a ridge southwest of Liquid where you can play. Yes, but you cannot do that as long as Forest is in. Because Forest can see you, and the guy sitting up top, whoops, will be able to see you down that way. So Liquid can't really push into this area before this is completely out. Because if they sit down here and start fighting this way, these guys will just start shooting over that way. So now, Gamer Legion pushing up. N47 starting to move as well, but they use vehicles. That was the busting move. They see them all moving over, and look at this. I don't think Gamer Legion were ready for a fight that way at all, because they're putting all their focus up towards reciprocity. But because Vasco takes a bike, and yes, a bike will be needed if they have to crash into the field, they now turn around. Ends, they say, we don't want to know. G2 do that. We don't want to do this anymore. They crash in. They get immediately slaughtered. Raise your edge. They get one knock on towards one of the Ends players. So he manages to, or they manage to get themselves a shack. Gamer Legion, 100% sandwiched. They do manage to get 1 point, but they end up going down. Drayton's still proning in the exact same spot he has been in for the longest time. Just letting everyone else do the fighting. 9 teams alive, Drayton. Just one more team and you will have made your way in. Oh, he goes down. But he went down in 7th place, so he did get some placement points off it too. Navi forced into the open, and now that both the hill and this is out, they can start moving further forward. Best of Luck goes down too. TSM still alive. Ridgeline contained by Team Liquid. Good position for them to be in now that, because we are down to the flat now, no one has that high ground advantage anymore. That's when you can snake and you can do whatever you want out in the open, right? So Shack, the Shacks gets the circle. The solo players, Rusted Ma and Vasco. This is just a crawling game, I would strongly assume, of hiding. Yep, Vasco gets found. Rusted Ma gets found. They try to crash in towards the Shack. There's not really a whole lot other they can do. Throw nades if you have any left. And try and see what place you can make from here. One more down. TSM trying to play safe on the backside. They know that this Shack is going to get shifted out. And you can see Gustav immediately runs to the center. Or walks or whatever he does. Gets to the dot in the middle. This is the final circle. He knows if we can just sit here, it's going to be us waiting for the people to come. So Gustav is waiting in the middle. Ratio Edge has to crawl out. Gemty is proning. I would assume everyone is crawling at this point. He goes down. 2v2. Still have the dot. It's just them waiting now. They're sitting on top of each other. One goes down and Michael gets the double. So exactly as anticipated, because they can sit and don't have to move around, they will have the eyes on Ratio Edge before they get to spot them. They know approximately what direction they could be coming from. And they win the game. Good job by TSM. Good game from a lot of the teams, actually, in trying to contain Cold Mensa. 7 kills. Impressive. TSM managed to get a 10-kill win off of their position in the open. I mean, they got crashed in those Shacks a couple of times. And they were sending a Hail Mary from really early on. Look at this. They crashed DA in that Shack with 46 players alive. 46 players alive when they sat there. And that's when you can talk about, oh, but they just had the circle. That's such an easy win. Blah, blah, blah. No. Because yes, this is easy. They don't have to do much. But they still have to show presence. They still have to make sure that they don't get breached the same way that they breached DA. And that's what they do by landing the shots they need to when teams are pushing in towards them. And when it all came down to it, Gustav pushed out, took the center while they were busy up here. So even though you get the circles, there is so much understanding in the game that you need to do, if that makes sense. Like it's not just circles thrown on your head. You have to also do something about it, like with the circles, if that makes sense. That was game number 4. We'll throw it into the final game of PEL of day number 1 of week number 5. There's a question in the chat. Let me just see that real quickly. What is my thoughts on the playstyle differences of TSM and FaZe? TSM, they dare more than FaZe do. FaZe, FaZe will rather place edge in a circle they get shifted away from than TSM will. And I don't know. I think TSM is a little more trigger happy than FaZe is. FaZe, they're very similar in both of the teams, rarely ever losing players early. But one big difference is that FaZe always loots on the edge and TSM pretty much always loots in the middle. Think about it. Where does TSM, oh maybe, I don't know, Milta, but they still rotate somewhat early anyway. But think about FaZe. They loot Milta Power, edge, or sometimes military, also edge. Or they loot in Monte Nuevo, which is west coast, or west in Miramar, thank you. So it makes more sense that they're more passive. Lula, I think what you can do. I hate these new letters on Twitch, by the way. I can rarely even see what your name is. Is it Luia? It's not your fault for having that name. It's just because the letters on Twitch are now so annoying. But we discussed this over the second Miramar game. So if you go back in the VOD or if you watch this video on YouTube later, it's just so I don't repeat myself all the time for the YouTube video also. We were actually discussing this for quite a while earlier today. So so you can go back and watch the video there. Yeah, no, I don't like the new Twitch layout. It's like with all social media. The whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It just doesn't apply. This works really well. Oh, we've had it for 2 weeks now. We should change it. Okay, and then they make something stupid. It's really annoying. I don't get why they do that. That's social media, I guess, and their layouts. Navi landing on Ferry Pier. They didn't want to. Was it that far east? Yeah, it was. There's no reason to contest vehicles up here with the Game of Legion. Just cross over, get down to where you want to go. 7 couldn't really go that far east either. NIP they have in the middle. I think it was like early mid of phase 2. They was it back in phase 1 actually? They claimed Lebovka from Knights, so Knights know good. NIP like to go there when they can't go south, George. We have Desperados going north alongside Crow Crowd. DA will get to where they go. Any interesting splits that we should be aware of? No, not really. Circle, though, is far north, and that does make things quite interesting. Not gonna lie, that does make things quite interesting. First of all, teams will have to cross. Excuse me. Teams will have to cross the river. And this is interesting. We've seen Liquid do this before. We've seen them do this in a circle that was far western. They know. Liquid knows, again, speaking about a team that is very, very wise in what they do. They know for a fact that on these eastern plains, NIP goes east coast. So they say, this is free. Eastern plain, northern circle. There's no one out here. Get the beep that way. Liquid react to it immediately. As soon as the circle pops, they go, we don't need more loot. Let's get these bikes and get going. Crowcrot do the same thing. Get over, get looted, and get going. They see Nuki and Misa, I believe, and now they stop here to loot. Reciprocity as well. There's no one coming here. Let's go. Unfortunately, they're a bit too late to it. They get taken down. Desperados try and hold them off, and that's Reciprocity losing 2 players now in a shift like that. That is in my book, and this is just me thinking out loud. When you're driving forward and you go, because obviously you can see, at least it seems like their intention is to go into North George the same way that Crowcrowd did it, in the same way that Liquid went South George. Go in and say, we are here early, we can just go loot. As soon as Mise gets down Udyr, at least to me, because the reason they do this is because they think, oh, we're so early anyway, we're gonna get this for free. They land. They barely get any loot. And immediately into the vehicles we go and start driving. They're rotating arguably really early. But as soon as they get killed or get one player killed up here, that's a ding. Like that's when the alarm bells go off. Because that's when you realize if there is a team already here who were obviously faster than us because they get to go there before Reciprocity did, then this should be taken too. If a team has made it from this plane path far out east all the way to North George, then there's no way that the team that goes up here hasn't already gotten here too. Does that make sense? So the fact that they lose one, continue north around, and pretty much hard commit on buggies, that is, into this compound and lose one more, at least to me, is it's a bit of a misplay. Like an unnecessary aggression, I think. Because I like the idea that they want to get more control, but I don't think they had to aggress on it like that. Like they just went in as if they didn't like it. They pushed the building as if they expected there to be no one. But it's not the first time Desperados do the split when they loot, so they should be aware of the fact that if a team can make it over here, a team can make it up here as well. It's those small things that I'm sure, I mean, Scoom and in general, the guys from Reciprocity are really wise players. So it's not that I'm saying they are bad, because I really don't think so. It's just one of those things that to me seemed like a mistake, like a misplay from their part, or on their part. FaZe go north around. They used to play up here all the time. Now they like the gas station more, it seems. TSM, they're two-way splitting up here. DA trying to take control of shooting range. Not a lot of surprises right now. Lost 4 players. This next circle shift is going to be interesting, though, because we talked about this before, how the East is open and difficult to play. In the middle, you can play everything. West becomes kind of open again, but with a little more area to control. New circle pops, and we're going up the hills. So everyone is going to drive to around here and walk the rest of the game. At least that's what I would expect. Also, do you wrap north around? Now we forgot to draw it up, but you kind of saw it anyway, so I don't really need to talk about it. Do you go up here to play on foot, or do you wrap around to keep your vehicles for longer? Knights and FaZe, they well, I mean, they stumble across each other, so they're forced into taking a fight in Severny, both shooting a little bit at NIP. One goes down, rest of it. Huh. So NIP, they try to rotate around Severny. First of all, they realize that there's a fight going on in Severny, so they go, okay, we don't want to do that. Then they try to drive further around, and they realize, guys, there's a team over here as well. If you drive this way, you are going to die. Fair enough. Don't do that. But then instead of wrapping around this way, Miracle and NBS crash straight into where they just saw all those guys fighting and go through Severny, knowing that there are teams fighting in there. That, I think, could have gone wrong in many different ways. And somehow it doesn't. That is a very confusing rotation to me. I mean, obviously it kind of works out because they only lose 1 player. They still have 3 guys alive. But in this situation, when you drive, Gaxi gets killed, and Vart gives the info that don't come this way because there's teams here. So, like, this is a no-go. To send it through Severny, rather than stopping on the edges somewhere and try and get info, that seems like I mean, people laugh at DA for doing YOLO-ish rotations. If this is not a YOLO rotation, then I don't know what a YOLO rotation is anymore. That is very, very, very aggressive rotation to the center, very, very late in the circle. Like, that could easily have been a team sitting here already, and they would have been completely slaughtered because of that. So, interesting rotation, but nonetheless, it works out. Let's not dwell more in that. DA come over to the northern side. They know for a fact that only 2 players made it in here, so they should be able to deal with them. On the southern side, Ratio Edge, Gamer Legion, and Na'Vi can play from to try and control what is on the uphill, I guess you can say, on the backside of the mountain. TSM crash into Ratio Edge. Gamer Legion not third partying. That's interesting. I thought that would be the easy decision to go for an aggressive play, but doesn't happen. Now they try to hold off rotations. They do spot them, it seems. 60 goes down. Linksy down. 1 more down. Coulter by himself. And they all go down. Great play. Great play by Gamer Legion in containing that. In the meantime, did we miss anything on the northern side? Vart tried to crash in. He survives. FaZe, they run into the 2 remaining players from Reciprocity. Huh. FaZe gets wiped. Again. FaZe, great team. But sometimes doesn't work out for them. Can happen to any team. They end up getting themselves killed. NBS and Miracle playing it slow. They have a teammate over here, but I don't think they're actually ever going to get to him. We'll see, though. Now, we can split this because there's like a valley thing going through here. Actually, it ends up here. So it goes like this. This is like a valley going that way. So it's uphill there, and then it's uphill here. On the northern side, we have 3 teams. A duo. Technically, Sidovnik is there too, but so we say 3, 5, 9 players, which means that we have 21 players down here. And they all have to do something. And it's unfortunately kind of limited what they can do. It's a big downhill position. You can't really do a lot with teams sitting below shooting up towards you, teams sitting on the other side shooting over towards you, and they just all have to try and wiggle their way in. Like, this is just becoming a snake game on a big open hillside. That's not exactly an easy area to play from. 7 try to push into an IP. They do end up winning. Buster gets the kill. Desperados playing it smart on the northern side again. They had a decent Miramar game earlier, and now they might have a chance. They got a 3rd place in that Miramar game, I believe. Now they're sitting with 3 on the northern half. Last circle goes to them. That's fortunate. 3 up from Liquid, 3 up from NIP, or from Navi, I mean, sorry. And then you still have the snakes from DA proning it out in the middle. 1 down, 2 down. Senya finds them. The thing is, Liquid can run up and try and get some sort of high ground info. The thing is, if they run up now to get the info, they know for a fact they'll have to push back down again in a second, and that's where you're really vulnerable. So take the lower ground position instead and wait it out. I think that's what's on the... Like, that's the plan. Ooh, Navi, they have to win this one. Yeah. 3v1, Tumble been spotted. Bada bing, bada boom. Dead. Navi wins. How many kills did they get? Whew. A solid 11 kill game for them. Liquid only gets 3 kills. Good placement though. 2nd place, I mean 3rd place. 3rd place in that. Navi played this one smart too. Look at this. They play the southern side again. Navi playing on the edges. No reason to over-aggress. They move up late. They come in with the circle, as you can see as soon as they're in here. That's the circle down here. They come in late. They crash on over. Make their way on up. Scout. Move into the compound. Don't lose players for no reason early game. And then they're fortunate that all the circles go down towards them. But they never just stay in the compound. This is a place where 7 would maybe have sat. Maybe not all in the compound, but primarily in the compound. And now look at Navi. Instead, they all drive to the compound in the beginning. Adusi, Senya stays to make sure that the compound is safe. Hey, it's like a cherry. And then as soon as they have this on a lockdown, that's when they can split out and start taking more control. So Senya sits down here, tries to make sure no one is flanking underneath, because if opponents get this position, then that's gonna make it really hard to play the warehouse or the compound they're in. So now Adusi and Senya pushes over because now they've realized no one's coming here. Now let's hold this off. Just overall, they play it super smart. They have the ridge line, can hold off any rotations coming in. Once the circles go back, they go back with the circle. Push up. Now they know, good, this is clear. Now it's time to focus here. Constantly clear, 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 more and more. And that's, in the end, part of how they end up winning the game. They don't lose a single player until very late. And they get themselves a, what was it, 12 kill game? Yeah, 12 kill win. So 11, make that 11 kill win. Very good game for NIP. Oh, Jesus, I keep doing it. Very good game for Navi. And a good end of the day for them. So that was day number 1 of PEL. I cannot talk. That's unfortunate. But day number 1 of PEL. And I hope you liked it. I hope you like watching. If you're watching on YouTube,